Pain neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to change, adapt, and grow throughout a person's life. Either great pain, contrary to the outdated belief that the brain becomes fixed after childhood. Modern neuroscience has shown that our brain remains malleable at any age, great pain, provided we give it the right conditions and inputs. Dr. Andrew Huberman emphasizes that with deliberate effort, grain, intentional focus, and the right environmental and behavioral strategies, anyone can reshape their brain structure and function, either great pain. This means that whether someone is in their 20s or their 70s, the brain has the capacity to learn new skills, form new habits, and overcome long-standing limitations. The human brain is composed of billions of neurons, either great pain. And these neurons are connected by synapses. When we engage in new behaviors or thought patterns, we strengthen these synaptic connections. With repetition and reinforcement, these connections become more efficient, leading to lasting change. This is the foundation of neuroplasticity. Dr. Either great pain. Huberman points out that motivation alone is not enough. For true plasticity to occur, there needs to be a level of mental engagement and challenge. The brain changes most effectively when we are deeply focused, slightly outside of our comfort zone, and emotionally engaged with the task at hand. Simply going through the motions does not stimulate the neural activity required for long-term rewiring. It's the struggle, the effort, and the intentional practice that tells the brain this matters and encourages it to adapt accordingly. One of the powerful aspects of this process is that it doesn't rely solely on external tools or technology. While supplements, therapies, and certain devices may support brain health, the most impactful changes begin with behavior. Choosing to practice mindfulness, learn a new language, take up a musical instrument, or even shift one's mindset from negative to positive are all forms of behavioral training that activate plasticity. Additionally, our beliefs about change influence our ability to create it. When people believe they can't change, they are less likely to try. But neuroscience now provides the biological proof that change is not only possible, but natural when the brain is activated in specific ways. Great pain. Now, Dr. Huberman also highlights the importance of attention. Attention acts as a spotlight in the brain. Signaling what information should be encoded and remembered. The more attentively we approach an experience, the more deeply it is wired into our neural networks. Over time, focused practice leads to increased efficiency, allowing tasks that were once difficult to become automatic. Another factor influencing neuroplasticity is emotional relevance. Great pain. Experiences tied to strong emotions, whether positive or negative, tend to create more profound and lasting changes in the brain. This is why storytelling, personal great pain, meaning, and emotional engagement play such important roles in learning and development. Even failure and mistakes contribute to plasticity when they are followed by reflection and continued effort. Great pain. These moments push the brain to adjust and search for better solutions, creating richer, more adaptable networks. The brain also thrives on novelty. New experiences stimulate dopamine release, which enhances learning and motivation. Deliberate focus and challenge are essential triggers for rewiring the brain. According to Dr. Andrew Huberman, neuroplasticity is not a passive process that happens automatically, but an active one that requires conscious engagement and effort. Great pain. When the brain is exposed to something new, especially when it involves an element of difficulty or novelty, it responds by creating new neural pathways or strengthening existing ones. This adaptation, however, is only activated when we are fully present and pushing ourselves beyond what feels easy or routine. The key here is what Dr. Huberman calls leaning into the challenge, which means deliberately choosing tasks that require effort and concentration. These moments of struggle are exactly what tell the brain the important that something is happening, and that it should enter into building and reinforcing the necessary circuits. In a world full of distractions, cultivating focus has become increasingly difficult. Yet, focus is the gatekeeper of neuroplasticity. When we focus intensely on a task, great pain, our brain releases neurochemicals like acetylcholine and dopamine that act as enhancers of learning. Great pain. These chemicals signal that a high-value experience is occurring pain, and they prime the neural circuits involved in the activity to change and grow. Without focus, the brain's ability to register and store information is diminished. This is why multitasking is a major barrier to meaningful learning and why intentional either great pain. Single task focus is so effective in rewiring the brain. Deliberate challenge is another fundamental component. If a task is too easy, the brain doesn't need to change. It simply repeats familiar patterns. However, when a task is slightly beyond one's current skill level, it triggers a state of alertness and effort. This sweet spot, often referred to as the zone of proximal development, is where real growth happens. When we operate in this zone, we not only deepen our existing skills, but also create new abilities. Great pain. Huberman emphasizes that this discomfort is necessary, not something to be avoided. The temporary difficulty we experience is actually a sign that our brain is in the process of strengthening and evolving. Moreover, focus and challenge work together in cycles. The brain can only sustain deep focus for limited periods, typically ranging from 90 minutes down to as little as 10 minutes, depending on the individual and the task, either great pain. After such sessions, it's important to take breaks to allow the brain to consolidate what it has absorbed. These cycles of deep engagement followed by rest are how the brain optimally encodes and integrates new information, either great pain. Repeating this pattern consistently over time leads to structural changes in the brain, making the new skill or knowledge more permanent. In addition, goal setting enhances the effects of focus and challenge, either great pain. When we know why we are doing something and what we hope to achieve, our brain engages more deeply. Pain. It begins to link the immediate task with a larger outcome, increasing motivation and effort. Pain, this connection between short-term action and long-term reward, is a powerful amplifier of plasticity. Either great pain. Even the way we talk to ourselves during a challenge can influence how deeply our brain responds. Sleep, deep rest, and recovery are critical for locking in brain changes. The great pain, Andrew Huberman, explains that while focus and challenge trigger neuroplasticity during wakefulness, the actual consolidation of those changes primarily occurs during sleep and periods of deep rest. When we are asleep, great pain, particularly during slow wave sleep and REM sleep, our brain reviews, organizes either great pain and reinforces the neural connections that were activated during the day. This behind the scenes process allows the brain to store information, improve skills, and strengthen memory, making sleep an essential component of learning and transformation. Without adequate sleep, the brain cannot efficiently encode or retain the progress made through effort and practice. In fact, either great pain. Poor sleep has been shown to reduce the ability to form new connections, delay skill acquisition, and increase emotional reactivity, all of which hinder cognitive and behavioral development. Dr. Huberman emphasizes that recovery doesn't only refer to nighttime sleep. It also includes deliberate periods of rest during the day, such as non-sleep deep rest, NSDR protocols, which are structured practices designed to relax the body and brain while keeping awareness intact. These states, great pain, which include yoga, nidra, and certain guided meditation techniques, help calm the nervous system, reduce stress, pain, and support neurochemical balance. When practiced consistently, NSDR can enhance focus, reduce fatigue, either great pain, and improve memory consolidation by mimicking some of the restorative functions of sleep. These methods are especially useful in today's high stimulation environments where people often lack the time or opportunity to take extended breaks. Just 10 to 30 minutes of such rest can improve learning outcomes and increase the likelihood that the brain will retain and build upon the lessons of the day. Pain. One of the reasons rest and recovery are so essential is that learning is metabolically demanding. The brain consumes a significant amount of energy while building and remodeling its circuits. During recovery, the brain can redirect its energy from external engagement to internal processing, allowing for cellular repair, pain, synaptic reorganization, and the regulation of neurotransmitters involved in plasticity, such as acetylcholine, dopamine, and serotonin. Dr. Huberman often points out that even a perfectly executed focus session or challenging task will have limited long-term benefit without proper follow-up rest to allow the brain to consolidate the gains. This principle also applies to emotional and psychological resilience, either great pain. When people are under constant stress without time to reset, the brain's ability to adapt and grow is suppressed pain, and it may instead reinforce negative patterns associated with survival mode. Additionally, circadian rhythms, the body's natural 24-hour cycles, play a key role in determining when the brain is most receptive to learning and most efficient at recovery, either great pain. By aligning activities like learning, working, and resting with these rhythms, great pain, individuals can enhance neuroplasticity and overall mental performance. For example, learning new information in the early part of the day and scheduling rest or downtime in the afternoon supports both immediate focus and later consolidation. Light exposure in the morning and reduced artificial light at night also contribute to healthy sleep cycles and hormone balance. Further supporting brain health, visual focus, and breathing control are gateways to enhancing neuroplastic learning. Dr. Andrew Huberman, drawing on decades of neuroscience research, great pain, explains that the way we use our eyes and breath can directly impact how alert, focused, and receptive the brain becomes to change. Visual focus, particularly the act of consciously narrowing our gaze to a single point, signals the brain that something important is happening. Pain. This type of focused vision is linked to the release of neurochemicals like norepinephrine and acetylcholine. Pain, which heighten attention and readiness for learning. When we engage in a task with sharp, deliberate visual focus, great pain, our brain recognizes it as significant and begins to allocate resources to encode and adapt to the experience. This is why moments of intense concentration often lead to stronger memory and deeper learning. The simple act of directing our visual system intentionally is a powerful tool for telling the brain, "This matters, pay attention." Dr. Huberman also emphasizes the importance of panoramic vision, where the eyes are relaxed and taking in a wider view of the environment. This mode reduces stress, calms the nervous system, and brings the body into a more balanced state. While narrow vision is useful for deep work and challenge, panoramic vision is helpful for recovery and regulating emotional states. The ability to shift between these visual modes consciously gives us greater control over our internal state and improves our readiness for learning and performance. Pain. This kind of dynamic visual control allows the brain to move between intense effort and calm receptivity, pain, supporting both the activation and consolidation phases of neuroplasticity. Pain, breathing control is equally influential in guiding brain states. Fast, shallow breathing is often associated with stress and anxiety, activating the sympathetic nervous system. In contrast, slow, deliberate breathing stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, promoting calm and clarity. Dr. Either Great Pain, Huberman highlights that specific breathing patterns can shift our state almost instantly. For example, the physiological sigh, a double inhale followed by a long exhale, has been shown to rapidly reduce physiological arousal and bring the brain into a state of focus. By learning to regulate breath intentionally, individuals can transition from distraction to concentration or from agitation to calm, depending on the needs of the moment. Breath also plays a role in synchronizing brain rhythms. Pain, controlled breathing can influence oscillatory activity in the brain, which governs how neurons communicate with each other. Either Great Pain. When breathing is regulated, neural networks become more coordinated, improving cognitive functions like memory, attention, and emotional regulation. This kind of synchronization is essential for reinforcing new connections and making learning stick. Dr. Huberman often points out that breath is one of the few tools we have to influence the brain, both rapidly and reliably. Either Great Pain. Unlike other systems in the body, breathing can be controlled both consciously and unconsciously, making it a bridge between deliberate practice and automatic response. When combined with visual focus, a controlled breathing becomes a powerful way into heightened learning states and enhanced brain plasticity. Consistent daily habits shape long-term brain structure and performance. Dr. Andrew Huberman emphasizes that the brain thrives on repetition and predictability when it comes to forming and strengthening neural pathways. Every action we take, every thought we repeat, and every routine we follow reinforces certain circuits in the brain over time. Over time, these circuits become more efficient, more dominant, and more automatic. Pain. This is how habits form and how behaviors become second nature. Pain, the brain, is not static. It is continuously adapting to what we do regularly. This means that the choices we make each day, no matter how small, have a cumulative effect on how our brain functions. When a habit is repeated enough times, either Great Pain, it becomes embedded into the subconscious systems of the brain, especially in areas like the basal ganglia, which are responsible for automatic behaviors and pattern recognition. Dr. Huberman highlights that neuroplasticity does not require major life changes or dramatic efforts in a short period. Instead, the most powerful transformations come from consistent, incremental actions. Whether it's practicing gratitude, Great Pain, meditating for 5 minutes, or doing a short physical exercise, the key is showing up every day. The brain interprets consistency as importance. Repetition signals value, and value leads to reinforcement. Great Pain. As these daily habits accumulate, they begin to restructure neural connections, enhance synaptic strength, and shift brain chemistry to support the new behavior. This is especially important in building resilience, focus, emotional regulation, and discipline. Traits that are all tied to specific neural circuits that grow stronger with repeated use. Another critical aspect Dr. Huberman discusses is the timing of habits. The brain responds well to rhythm and routine. Either Great Pain. Performing specific tasks at the same time each day can help align the brain's internal clock, known as the circadian rhythm. This alignment boosts energy levels, enhances mood, and increases mental clarity. For example, doing cognitive work during peak alertness hours or engaging in recovery practices during natural dips in energy can significantly improve productivity and mental performance. Additionally, when habits are tied to environmental cues, like waking up and immediate going for a walk in sunlight, they become more ingrained and easier to maintain. Dr. Huberman also explains that habits influence neurochemical states. Activities such as exercise, deep breathing, pain, journaling, and positive self-talk stimulate the release of beneficial neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, and acetylcholine. These chemicals not only improve mood and motivation, but also create an internal environment that supports plasticity. Over time, the brain begins to expect and crave these actions, making it easier to continue them. This chemical feedback loop reinforces the habit both behaviorally and neurologically. Even small wins, either great pain, like completing a short task or resisting a distraction, release dopamine pain, creating a sense of progress and satisfaction that encourages further effort. Crucially, the quality of habits also matters. Engaging in purposeful, meaningful activities strengthens the prefrontal cortex, which governs decision making, self-control, and long-term thinking. This means that habits aligned with personal goals and values have a stronger impact on brain development than habits formed out of boredom or reactivity. You must combine mental effort with physical states to optimize brain rewiring. Dr. Andrew Huberman explains that neuroplasticity is not just a cognitive process, but a full body experience, either great pain, deeply influenced by how we breathe, move, and regulate our physiological state. The brain and body are not separate systems. They are intimately connected, constantly exchanging signals through the nervous system, hormones, and neurochemicals, either great pain. For the brain to effectively encode new information or change behavior, it must be in a state of readiness. This state is often achieved by synchronizing mental focus with physical cues like posture, respiration, and movement. Great pain. When we combine mental concentration with physical activation, the brain becomes more alert, responsive, and primed for change. Dr. Either Pain. Huberman emphasizes that one of the fastest ways to shift the brain into a plastic state is by modulating our level of arousal. Arousal in neuroscience refers to how alert and awake the brain is, and this can be adjusted through breathing patterns, body movement, and even facial expressions. For example, increasing alertness by using deep, rhythmic breathing or brief physical activity like jumping or walking quickly can raise adrenaline and dopamine levels, which enhance attention and learning. Conversely, if someone is too agitated or anxious, either great pain, using slow exhalations and calming body postures can downregulate the nervous system, making it easier to engage in thoughtful, focused learning. Dr. Great Pain. Huberman often points to the importance of physical self-regulation as a foundation for deep cognitive work. Pain, explaining that without a regulated body, the mind struggles to retain information or execute plans effectively. Movement itself also plays a vital role in learning and brain plasticity. Engaging in physical activities such as walking, stretching, or even light exercise can increase blood flow to the brain and promote the release of neurotrophic factors like BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, pain, which support the growth and strengthening of synaptic connections, either pain. This is why many people find that ideas come to them more clearly during a walk or after a workout. Physical movement energizes the system, elevates mood, and enhances memory formation. Dr. Great Pain. Huberman suggests that learning or practicing a skill immediately after physical movement may amplify the retention and efficiency of that learning. Pain. By pairing mental effort with physical readiness, the brain enters a heightened state of adaptability. Another way to combine mental and physical states is through visualization coupled with bodily stillness, either great pain. When a person visualizes a specific skill or activity while maintaining calm and controlled breathing, great pain, the brain can activate the same neural circuits involved in actual performance. This technique is widely used by elite athletes, performers, and professionals who want to reinforce skills without physical repetition. Visualization engages the motor cortex, prefrontal cortex, and sensory areas in a coordinated way, strengthening mental maps and improving precision. Dr. Huberman also highlights the role of body posture in influencing brain states. Standing upright, sitting tall, and holding a posture of alertness can signal to the brain that it needs to be attentive and engaged. The reverse is also true. Slouching or collapsing the posture can lead to decreased energy and reduced cognitive sharpness, either pain. By being mindful of both mental engagement and physical positioning, yet pain, individuals can create the internal conditions required for effective neuroplastic change